We've been all around the world looking at different styles of government, from monarchies to totalitarian dictatorships, but there's one type that we haven't looked at yet, and that's going to be really important for our class: democracy. Now, we live in the United States and we have a democratic system of government. So in this video, we're going to explore the concept of democracy and look at least two historic ways that democracies have been structured. So why don't we go ahead and dive right in, and we'll explore this important style of political system. Now, in Greek, the word demokratia means rule by the people. And one of the most important concepts when it comes to democracy is an idea called popular sovereignty. Now, popular sovereignty refers to the idea that in a democracy, the real source of power is not inherited through a monarchy. It's not some totalitarian dictator. The real source of political authority is from the people directly. That's why if you look at our U.S. Constitution, what does it start with? The first three words: we the people. And so again, this idea that in a democracy, it is the people themselves who are supposed to rule. We get to make decisions for ourselves. In some ways, we get to make decisions directly. In other ways, we might be having somebody else do that on our behalf. So I want to introduce you in this video to two types of democracy. We're going to look at the concept of a direct democracy. We're also going to look at something called a representative democracy. Now, in the United States today, we have a representative democracy. We're a democratic republic. And so we're going to learn all about what that means in this video. But first, let's get back in our time machine once again. We're going to go all the way back to ancient Athens, thousands of years ago, and we're going to learn about a type of democracy called direct democracy. The classic example of direct democracy was the city-state of ancient Athens in Greece. And within this city-state, if you were a male citizen of the state, you could participate in the public assembly. Every time there was a decision to be made by government, all of those male citizens of the state were able to come and cast a vote. And so by doing that, as a collective, as a community, they were able to make decisions for themselves. And so we're going to see that as a source of direct democracy because there was nobody in between the individual and the ultimate decision. Now, suffice it to say that we don't have a direct democracy in the United States today. And part of the reason for that is it's very difficult to make that system work when you have a huge group of people. Now, in the United States today, we have over 300 million Americans. And so you can imagine that if we had a system where every time there was a decision to be made that you just asked everybody, it's not going to work out so well. So you most commonly see direct democracies in small communities. We do kind of have some traits of direct democracy in California today. So for instance, every once in a while, we the people get to bypass our California politicians and vote on a proposition. And so it really is kind of like asking us, hey, what is your opinion on this issue? And we the voters get to decide. But generally speaking, even within California and certainly within the United States, we don't have a direct democracy. And here's the reason you know. The last time they had to make a decision about funding for military or some healthcare law or some change to the tax code, did anybody from the national government call you up to get your opinion on that? The answer is no, right? You never got that call. Instead, there is somebody else, though, who got to decide, and that person was your representative. All of us, every single person watching this right now who lives in the United States, you have a person that represents your area. In fact, you have many such people that represent you at different levels of government. So in a representative democracy, which is what we have that same idea of popular sovereignty. The will of the people should be what drives our politics. But instead of you voting directly, somebody is going to be an intermediary. A Congress member, a senator, maybe your mayor or city council member. These are people who are representatives, and their job is to help represent the will of your local community. So why don't we have a direct democracy in the United States? We're next unit, when we start looking at the Constitution, going to explore some of the founding ideals of our country. And when we were coming up with our system of government, a lot of the founders were concerned about this concept called tyranny of the majority. Tyranny is when you tyrannize somebody else. You make their life very difficult. You strip them of their rights. The concern was if you have a big group of people who can do whatever they want, they can trample on minority rights, whether that's a minority identity or whether that is a minority viewpoint. If you get 50% plus one, you can have that majority go ahead and have a tyranny, really. So they wanted to make sure that there were some rules in place. That's why we have a system of limited government. The government can't just do anything that it wants, even if most of the people want. And we're going to learn all about that in our week on civil liberties and civil rights. But we also see that the founders were really interested in making sure that the decisions that were made were, how should I say, well-informed. So they're worried about having an uninformed group of public. Maybe you're not super interested in politics or you don't understand the issue. They were kind of concerned that there would be a group of uninformed Americans who were basically making all the decisions, and that didn't strike them as such a hot idea either. So instead, what they did is they devised these institutions to filter that popular desire, that popular sovereignty, through elected representatives and other institutions that could protect minority rights on the one hand and hopefully lead us to have a set of really important and well-made decisions on the other by having people whose job it is to specialize in looking at politics. And so we're going to see that today in the United States, we still have this system of representative democracy. Think about the politicians you know, the president, the vice president, maybe a senator, a governor. At the end of the day, why are these people hired? It's to represent your views and the views of the nation, or at least their communities. So I hope you find this interesting. We're going to have a lot of time to explore democracy. Trust me on that throughout the semester. But this will give you an opening idea about how we structure our democratic system in the United States. And we got a lot more of that to come. So I look forward to exploring that and learning all about that with you this semester.